Right. So this idea or notion that we can hear from God in such a way that he can help us make our own way, not not in the world rules, but in the kingdom rules, if you will, in story one, not story two, um, that could be foreign for some people, right? I mean,
Well,
that
I think it's foreign for the majority of believers. And one of the things, Steve, as I was writing the Eden option, was this realization that. So let me define for listeners story one and story two first, and then
perfect.
I'll go.
You're right on cue. Thank you.
Yeah. So when we are using that terminology, story one is the original true story we were made for. It is a way of life with God at the epicenter of everything, every part of our life. It's Eden. Story two is actually the default narrative we've been born into. It's trying to make life work without God's active, intimate presence. And it's more Ecclesiastes than Eden. And the thing is, we're born in story two. Everyone listening, every one of our parents, every one of our grandparents, every one of their grandparents, all the way back in time, were born into story two. The only two people born in story one and created in story one really were Adam and Eve. And they, created in story one, chose story two and were escorted out of paradise.
Yes.
Every one of us since then have been born in story two. And the choice we have is, do we want to return to story one, the story we were created for? And Steve, the reason those definitions are important is because, we find ourselves in story two, and it's all we've ever known from the time we were born. And we look around and we go, this is just the way the world works. This is just, when I have a problem, here's how to solve it. And it's a story two problem in a story two world. And we start to think that's normal. And it is the normal way we do things in story two, but normal isn't the same thing as real. And so reality is not story two, but it is our norm. And so when so many Christians and believers, when they start to get disappointed with God, when they give up on God, when they downgrade who they think God is, well, that's all a story to God. It's not even the true God. It's the story two version of God that they're disappointed and rejecting, or settling for in their story to life. And I'm talking about believers, because here's the mind-blowing thing to me. Adam and Eve, when they chose the tree of knowledge over the tree of life, they left a life of God at the epicenter, but they didn't quit believing in God. In fact, they believed in God just as much in their new fallen story two life than they did in story one. The first thing they did after eating from the tree they were told not to eat from was hide from God. So you don't hide from who you don't believe is real. And so the thing we have to know is, being a believer is awesome. It's the foundational, transformational step that we have to make. But being a believer, you can still spend your whole life stuck in story two, as Adam and Eve did the rest of their lives. They never quit believing in God. They just weren't living with God. And so everyone listening, what I'm saying is, if you are hearing these definitions and you're kind of going, well, I wonder, am I in story one or am I in story two?
Mm,
If you don't know, then I can almost guarantee you're in story two,
right.
because story one has to be an intentional journey back to the story you were created for. So it's kind of like, if you went to Hawaii, you don't ever wonder if you went to Hawaii. You because you had to plan the trip and go. And if you're in story one, you had to intentionally choose to leave the day-to-day stuckness, staleness, and scarcity of story two.